So what is your concern with the stealth war? What do Americans not know? Not just Americans, but the free world or the capitalist world not know that you know?
Well, think about it in this manner. You know, if the USSR and Khrushchev had gone to the UN and said, we don't want to fight, we actually believe in the principles that you are espousing here in the United Nations, and we want to help promote an open world. We want to be partners with you. And rather than banging the shoe and saying, we will crush you, we will bury you. And what if we had then said, okay, instead of, protecting ourselves from you and your active measures, we're going to fully embrace you as a society and welcome your citizens, your business people, welcome your complete integration with your society into our society. And then you have to wonder, well, what would the outcome be? As you know, we wouldn't even trade with the Soviet Union because we were concerned about they're using our technology against us. And so we were fundamentally isolated in terms of our economy. Well, this idea that Khrushchev had, that we will crush you, is the same idea that the Chinese Communist Party has, except rather than doing what Khrushchev did, they said, we want to be your partner. And in fact, it started when Nixon went back in 1972. And essentially it was, we're going to integrate and we're going to voluntarily enable the power and the economic growth of China because we believe that it's going to be mutually beneficial. In reality, what the Chinese Communist Party was doing was taking innovation, technology, talent, and most importantly, capital, because the United States has 40% of the investable capital in the world to build their country, to build their regime, but to do so in a way that didn't really show that they were willing to adopt things like human rights and civil liberties and rule of law, and most importantly, free trade and an open financial system. And so really what they've done is they've completely bilked us, and in doing so, they've hollowed out our society, not just millions of jobs, but also our industrial capacity.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
While at the same time building their own. And they've done it all in order to perpetuate their rule over the Chinese people.
I've been in Zimbabwe, and I've seen the compounds the Chinese have built there, because when the economy crashed, the Chinese moved in, and they're taking out the resources. I was in Panama when I was watching the Chinese negotiate to build a bigger Panama Canal to beat the U.S. Panama Canal. And I was in Cameroon when I saw them trenching. They were trenching fiber optic cable all across Cameroon. They were also thinking of building a road across South America. And so what China is doing is building infrastructure. A lot of these big American funds are taking Chinese capital. So we fund Chinese, but they take our technology. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So imagine, for instance, if you're a venture capital firm and you have several $1 billion invested in Chinese companies, and China comes to you and says, we want you to do X or else. What's your response going to be? How are you going to act? What are you going to be receptive to? The same thing is, if the People's Bank of China came to you and you happen to have a hedge fund, for example, and you're living in New York and you're running an investment firm and you're taking institutional capital, and the People's Bank of China comes to you and says, we want to invest $5 billion, and you know that you get 10% off the top of that, plus a carry. And you're saying, okay, so what are you going to be receptive to? What's going to motivate you? And if the Chinese Communist Party comes to you and says, hey, will you do X? What are you going to do? I think that's the thing that you find within business, is that there is so many incentives that have that, whether you're in the financial industry or whether you're in corporate America, that if you don't do what the Chinese Communist Party asks you to do, there's you'll either lose their investment in you, you'll lose your investment in China, or you will lose access to the Chinese market. When you tie all these things together and you realize that China is integrated in every democracy around the world, then you begin to understand what the Chinese Communist Party has built, which is a quite very favorable influence machine that operates in every capital in the world and operates in all the international institutions like the UN and World Bank.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Marco Stan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Marco Stan.